محمد نبينا بنور هدينا محمد نبينا بنور هدينا من مكة حبيبي نور سطع في المدينة محمد نبينا بنور هدينا محمد نبينا بنور هدينا من مكة حبيبي نور سطع في المدينة قلبي وفؤادي هاموا بك يا هادي قلبي.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So just to reiterate, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before we start, has described to us a status in Al-Jannah that it will be an envy by the prophets and الصالحين والشهداء يحسدهم عليها الأنبياء والشهداء الأحباء في جلالي, those who have been got together loving each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I always try to pay or bring the attention of the brothers to the greatness of this religion. Just look around yourself and you will see different people from different ethnic groups, background, nationalities, different languages. And that's, if anything, tells you about the greatness of this religion, which was sent to the whole human mankind. Go around, you cannot find something like this unless they are doing a party or something. Even when they do parties or singing, there are still some sort of segregation. But this is the last revelation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And since it's the last revelation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gave us assurance that He will preserve and maintain that religion unchanged until the end of this life. And based on His verse in the Holy Quran, that He sent us رُسُلًا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. He sent us prophets or messengers to guide us and to warn us. So they will tell us what to do and to warn us about what not to do. Why? لِأَلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى اللَّهِ حُجَّةٌ بَعْدَ الرُّسُلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing this so we don't have excuse in the day of judgment. Well, I didn't know. I didn't receive any message. Nobody told me. There is a message. There is a revelation. And there are messengers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent throughout the whole history of mankind. Inshallah, this is a dear topic to me today, and I promise, inshallah, the brothers in the future, we will talk about a series of lecture about al-i'jaz al-ilmi for Quran and Sunnah. This is another topic I used to be interested in, and maybe one of the main hobbies of mine is al-khatt al-arabi. So inshallah, we will dedicate one lecture talking about that, sort of to know about an art that has one characteristic different than any other arts, is it has a holiness or some sort of qudsiyya, because it was attached to the Quran and Islam. And we hope to have a course in teaching khatt al-nasakh, inshallah. Most probably we're going to start in February for 2 months, and you will start seeing an advertisement about that. Tonight's khutbah, tonight's dars, inshallah, is about the Muslim woman in the current era. Unfortunately, I'm going to start with some strong statements, and since everybody is awake still, there is no evidence in the Quran or Sunnah that prevent a woman from driving a car. And this is well documented on the internet by Saudi shuyukh, current one, Al-Garni or Ayad Al-Garni and others. You can see that. So there is no evidence. In the current time where we consider ourselves at the top of civilization, we are trying to give women the right to vote and to acquire certain positions in the government, while Islam has elected women and allowed them to vote 1500 years ago, and we will elaborate on that. we have been raised up that صوت المرأة عورة. Everybody was saying صوت المرأة عورة, صوت المرأة عورة. This is another misconception. Only حينما يخضعن بالقول. This is a very specific situation. The Muslim Sahabiya and Muslim woman throughout the whole history, she was a faqihah, she was talking, she was da'iyah, she was asking the Prophet. They came and asked the Prophet. The one lady stood in the middle of the khutbah and talked against Umar ibn Khattab. She corrected him. So unfortunately, the women have been treated unjustly because of cultural things rather than religious. At the end of this lecture, I always say we should not promote what they call al-musawah al-mar'a wal-rajul, musawah, to equality between man and woman. This is again wrong conception. We want to promote cooperation between man and woman, because there are two different species that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave everyone specific characters, so they will complement or complete the message or the mission of each other to raise a good family, a good community, and achieve the goals of Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to achieve. So whatever I say, inshallah, if I hit the truth, فَمِنَ اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى, and if I do a mistake, فَمِنْ نَفْسِي اللَّهُمَّ لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَلِيمُ الْحَكِيمُ. People might disagree with what we might say, but inshallah we can discuss. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah An-Nisa, verse 59, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. This is a very known rule, that if we fight with each other about certain topic, we have to, our reference is Al-Quran and the Sunnah. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya يقول لا قول مع قول الله وقول الرسول. If any issue has been addressed by Quran and Sunnah, that's it, you stop there. Nobody can add or change or... And the Prophet ﷺ said, عليكم بسنتي, abide by my sunnah, وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين عضوا عليها بالنواجذ. Also the sunnah of the khulafa, the four khulafa that came after the Prophet ﷺ, he said, عضوا عليها بالنواجذ. Grab on it with your teeth, don't let it go. Okay? Now, going back to Al-Quran, Al-Quran, they said, نزل بلغة مضر. Lughat Mudar is the language or the Arabic language that Quraysh and the tribes or the people who lived in that area used to use. And in Arabic language and in the Holy Quran, there are two different types or different ways to address people. نوعين من الخطاب. The first one, Al-Quran has addressed ladies separately. That's number one. Or he talked to the whole people, men and women together as human beings. Never the Quran has addressed the men alone or in Al-Arabic. So when you talk to people, you are talking to everybody. That's well known, and that's the basics of the language. So there is no... when you talk, you don't address the men unless you specify that. I'm talking to you men. Otherwise, when you talk in general, you are addressing both men and women. Or if you talk to the ladies, then you are talking to them in their language. And there are lots of evidence on that. I'm going to give you 3 examples. People say, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. We have been taught that this only applies for men. Ladies do not have to do with shura. They have nothing to do with hukum. لَا خَيْرَ فِي قَوْمٍ وَلَّوْا أَوْرَهُمْ إِمْرَأَةً. There are lots of things that we have been raised up thinking this is religion, and many of these are not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that ayah says, وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. وَالَّذِينَ, those, يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ, avoid big sins, وَالْفَوَاحِشِ, وَإِذَا مَا غَضِبُوا, if they are angry, فَهُمْ يَغْفِرُونَ, they forgive people. وَالَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ, and they are responded back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ, he's talking to both of the human being or mu'mineen. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Whatever we give them, they pay sadaqah and charity. They exclude, everything applies to everybody, man and woman, and then they said, no, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, that's only for men. How did they come up with that? That's wrong. So al-khitab here is addressed to both. And the evidence on that is as-Sahaba have understood it the right way. When Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab was about to die, after he was stabbed by Abu Lu'lu al-Majusi, mata shahidan, he nominated 6 people and asked them to get together and pick up the next Khalifa after him. Abdurrahman ibn Auf was one of them. So Abdurrahman ibn Auf said, I'm not interested in being Khalifa, I'm out of this group. So they said, okay, we will appoint you to be sort of the head of the election committee. You take over, and then you will report to us about the result of the election. And in the Kutub al-Sirah said he went and asked every single adult in the Muslim Ummah. They said, حتى البكر في خدرها. A virgin lady, he is not married. Usually culture-wise doesn't go out. So he went to their house and he asked. He said, حتى البكر في خدرها. And when they got together في بيت فاطمة بنت قيس القرشية, a respected lady. And in their house is when they presented that report. Notice. So, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى, he took the opinion of every single people, including women, including al-Bikr fi khidriha. Another example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعملوا فسيرى الله عملكم ورسوله والمؤمنون. Surah At-Tawbah, verse 105. That do your best because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be seeing you and His Prophet and al-Mu'minun. Also, فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whoever wants to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a good status, he has to do good deeds. He did not, this is addressing everybody, man and woman. And then in certain ayahs, said, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَأُنْثَى. Both. ذكر, male or female, وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة. Surah An-Nahl 69. So doing good deeds is to both sexes, both genders. And this is in the interest of the whole community. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed both. Another example is al-amr bil-ma'ruf wal-nahy al-munkar. Farida is sort of a must on both al-rijal wal-nisa to promote good and forbid evil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again in Surah At-Tawbah, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. Both, al-mu'minuna wal-mu'minat, بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْض, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوف, all promote good, وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, both of them forbid evil. Al-ma'ruf, they defined as anything أو كل ما تعارفت الطبائع السليمة على أن فيه خيرا ومصلحة للفرد والمجتمع. Al-ma'ruf is any act or any thing you do that's accepted by common sense or people's standards to be good for the person and for the community. Al-munkar on the other side is anything that doesn't go with the common sense or the common standards of the people, and it inflicts harm on the person or on the community. For example, smoking, munkar or ma'ruf? I mean, munkar. I know there are smokers here and they will get me angry at me. حماية البيئة, to protect the environment, it's ma'ruf. To put a traffic light in the street so you can control traffic and prevent accidents. This is ma'ruf. And these are common sense or standards accepted by the people, and with experience, we people know what's good and what's not good. In fact, as-Sahaba, they involve the woman even in what we call al-mu'assasat al-ijtima'iyya, or the government organizations in the government. For example, Sayyidina Umar, he was the first one to create what we call the FDA, Nizam al-Hisba. It's called Nizam al-Hisba. And it's the first system in the history of mankind at that time where there is an authority. The job of that authority is to do sort of a quality control. You go to Eid's Mona Lisa, make sure he is using good rice, he means good meat, he's not cheating, putting stuff. The quality control, we call it. Or in this country, we call it FDA. You cannot bring anything that's used by people without approval of FDA. They have to check it and make sure there is research, it's not to have side effects, blah, blah, blah. So so Sayyidina Umar has established that system in Al-Madinah. Whom did he choose on top of that lady, or the chief of that lady? A respected lady called Shifa bint Abdullah. This lady was the head of that. She has sort of a policeman, shurat. And she would go around and check the products and make sure things are fine. Otherwise, people can be put in jail or punished, whatever, depends on whatever punishment they had at that time. She is the same lady who was involved in Mahw al-Ummiyah, to teach ladies and have them be able to read and write literacy, get rid of literacy. On the same token, in Mecca, he established the same system, and also he chose on that Samra bint Nuhayk, another lady, to control that thing. So these are examples how Islam has dealt with the woman 1500 years ago, which probably we have reversed all that nowadays. Our Al-Quran Al-Kareem has treated both men and women, and we are going to mention several interesting points. First one is سَوَّ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَالرَّجُلِ الْمَرْأَ فِي أَصْلِ الْخِلْقَةِ. In the origin of creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created both of them from نفس واحدة, man and woman. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى. The rest of the people were created from ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى, both equal, both same. And He made us in a good khilqah, in a good creation. Also, Islam has made both man and woman equal in terms of responsibility. And especially when Sayyidina Adam was kicked out of Al-Jannah, some other people of the book claim that it was Eve that got deceived by a shaitan, and then she tempted him to eat, and then she got him out. That's not true. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses both of them being responsible. Both of them, they ate from the tree. Both of them disobeyed Allah. Both of them went down. He did not, that's very clearly in the Holy Quran. So both of them, Eve and Adam, carry the same responsibility. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. ذَكَرَ وَأُنْثَى, both are equal. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنًا. Both, إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولَهُ أَمْرًا أَن تَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. Surah Al-Hadid. Again, Islam has treated both man and woman in terms of ثواب الله والمغفرة والأجر, in terms of reward for your work or forgiveness, both treated as the same. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعد الله لهم, all of them, مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. Islam has treated both man and woman equally in terms of political responsibility and their role in the community. And there is several ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ وَالْمُسْلِمُونَ وَالْقَانِتُونَ وَالْقَانِتَاتُ وَالصَّالِحُونَ وَالذَّاكِرُونَ. At the end, He says, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. So both equal, same. Also, Islam has made both a man and woman equal in terms of what we call حق التملك, المكتسبون من عمل قاموا به أو بشكل من الأشكال. For whatever work, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, للرجال نصيب مما اكتسبوا وللنساء نصيب مما اكتسبوا. يعني men have their share of whatever of reward for whatever work they have done, and the women have their share for whatever work that they have done. So equal. It will get better soon. Islam has also treated both man and woman equally in terms of financial, economic and financial independence. In fact, the woman has even an advantage. We are lucky none of the women is here, so we make use of that. But a man cannot spend or use his wife's money without her permission, even if she was a rich lady. That's shara, fiqh. On the other hand, the Prophet ﷺ allowed the ladies to take from her husband money and spend it, or even pay sadaqah. He says, when they ask him, he says, خُذِي مَا يَكْفِيكِ وَوَلَدِكِ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Sometimes there are certain husbands who are mean and they don't spend money and they are not brings a bakhil. Yeah. So the Prophet ﷺ allowed her to take whatever money from his money, whatever is if enough to support herself and her kids. But he said, بِالْمَعْرُوف. Don't go just take the whole account. just take enough for you to support yourself. And also she is allowed to تتصدق من أموال زوجها, and she gets half the ajr. He gets half the ajr, she gets half the ajr, by the way. Okay, another important issue here, حق الميراث. Islam has treated both men and women. This is a really very sensitive topic, and we will say why. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says very clearly in the Quran, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ. When the parents die or some of the close relative dies, their money, the inherited money, a man has a share of that. وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ. Women, repeated the same thing, men and women, they have the same. In fact, this is called علم الفرائض, which deals with inheritance and how much money, how the money gets distributed after somebody is deceased. And this is one of the topics where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has detailed in the Holy Quran, because it will not change whether it's 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years in the future. It will not change. So as we know, issues that will not change, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has detailed it, especially sensitive issues like this. Just to tell you that, because people say that Islam was not just to the woman. In fact, and they always say, وَلِلرَّجُلِ وَلِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. That's the only thing. Like somebody comes and say, and وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةِ. Ya akhi, you have to take the whole thing in its context. Or وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. You cannot just like this. When people went back and studied all the different conditions of mirath, and I'll give you the conclusion. They said, there are 4 conditions where a man will get more inheritance money than a woman. 4 conditions. There are 8 conditions where a man will get the same amount of money like the woman. There are 10 conditions where the woman will get more money than the man, and there are certain situations where the woman will get inheritance money and the man will not get anything. Tell the whole truth, don't just... Unfortunately, I'm sure every one of us had got exposed to relatives or friends where a lady, her husband, her dad passed away, and she had brothers. What did the family do? They deprived her from her inheritance. I've seen this example very common. Why? We don't want the land or the money to go in the hands of a foreign person. Ya akhi, you have violated. This is a major violation. I know if everybody has to, I can give you 3-4 stories. Yes. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wallahi, this is very sensitive. It's a money. If you don't pay it now, you have to pay it in the day of judgment. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, من حرم وارثا من إرثه قطع الله إرثه من الجنة. If you deprive somebody from his earth, and earth is not something debatable or there are opinions about it, it's well clearly explained in the Holy Quran. And you ask al-fuqaha, I have blah 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 blah, he will give you the numbers, each one how much he gets. It's very clear science. So if somebody deprives somebody from his inheritance, then he will be deprived from his inheritance of Al-Jannah in the Day of Judgment. It's really a very sensitive issue, and I see it a lot, wallahi. Okay, this is another issue here. Many people nowadays النساء لازم يكونوا بس قاعدات بالبيت يربوا أولادهم. That's what they told us. Women has to stay at home. They just have to raise their kids. That's it. These are 60% of the women in Yemen are illiterate. They cannot write or read. Egypt, I don't know what's the percentage, but 40%. We will give some numbers, inshallah, at the end. But Islam has also, during the Day of Judgment, we are talking about during the Day of Judgment, and Sahaba, ساوى بين المرأة في ممارسة المهن, different means. Men and women have same chance of practicing certain jobs or jobs. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the women worked in agriculture, in being like shepherds, sewing and preparing all cloths and stuff like that, home crafts, different crafts, preparing the skins, wool, stuff like that. They were treating sick people and injured people during war, mudawa, like nurses and like They were fighting with the Prophet ﷺ, and we know all the examples. We are not going to be able to give examples to everyone. Zaynab al-Mu'mineen, one of our al-Mu'mineen, used to تدبر وتخرز الجلد, يعني the skin after the animal is died and slaughtered, she will prepare the skin and clean it and prepare it to be used. The aunt of Jabir, one of the Sahaba, she used to تجد نخلها, pick up all the fruits, the dates and from the trees and prepare the trees. And she was, in fact, at that time, she was having her menstrual period. So she asked the Prophet, can she do that while she is? He said, of course. Qaylatul Ammariya was a merchant, famous merchant lady. She has shops that she used to buy and sell and used to come to the Prophet. She said to the Prophet, O Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have certain goods to make the money for it. Like if I want to make $50 for it, I will ask or put it for $70 or $80. So when I bargain with them, they will go down, and then I will make my money, or the money I wanted to make in that way. The Prophet ﷺ told her, no, just put the whatever price it's really worth, and they either take it or they leave it. So don't overprice things. Just Al-Hawla was a lady who attara, sells perfumes and herbs and stuff like that. And one time she came to Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha to complain about her husband, the old historical story. And the Prophet came after she left, and he said, "Inni la'ajidu riha al-hawla." I smell her smell, because he knows she deals with orchids. Did she come here? Did you buy from her? Okay. Also, Mulaika is another lady who used to pay perfumes, and she used to sell perfumes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, and etc., etc. The last example, Ra'la al-Qushayriya. This is a very nice example. I wish the ladies were here. Ra'la al-Qushayriya, she came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, I am a woman, muqayyina. Muqayyina, like coiffeur. What do you call it here? Coiffeur? Hairdresser, thank you. Yeah, hairdresser. So she said, I am a hairdresser or coiffeur. أقيم النساء وأزينها. I do their hair and make them look good for their husbands. فهل هو حب? Is this some sin that I would stop to do? What did the Prophet ﷺ? He said, Ya Ra'la, qayyinihinna wa zayyinihinna. Yeah, work on them, make them look good, so the husband don't go outside and look outside. In fact, the ulama said, because unfortunately, I've seen it in my eyes. Some people, they become religious and they become dirty, and their hair is not done, and the ladies, they don't shave there. And yeah, wallahi. Yani ulama said, some of the scholars said there is حد أدنى للجمال. And Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas, they said, I used to tazayyan, to clean myself, so I would look good to my wife like she is doing that to me. But that's wrong. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes to see a mu'min sharp, clean, mashad, you know. Again, now another important thing, Sarkozy prevented niqab, and that's a different topic. We're not going to discuss that. But in other places, they said no hijab in certain areas, European countries, and they are claiming they are the top of civilization and freedom and all this shi'arat. Islam has paid man and woman the same amount of ajr, wages, for the same job. And if you are a teacher, you get $5,000 a month. As a man, a woman gets $5,000 a month in Islam, in Sharia al-Islam. In the European countries, including United States, women are paid 30 to 40% less money for the same job done by men. And that has been going on for years. And it's very clear. So tell me now, who is treating women in a fair or just way? Islam or... In fact, in certain places of the world, they said it reaches up to 80%. Wallahi, this is wrong, injustice. Tamam? And Islam, again, as we just mentioned, in Yemen, 60% of the ladies are illiterate, and probably close percentages in many of the Muslim countries. And people think this is Islam. Wallahi, this is not Islam. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. And this is why both man and woman has the same right and the same responsibility in the neck of their parents to be taught until they are done with their education. And in fact, pay attention more to your daughter than your because we are living in communities that are unjust already to the woman, so you need to be supportive to them. And when he said فريضة على كل Muslim, what does that mean? There should be no illiterate person, يعني complete eradication of illiteracy, محو الأمية, zero. يعني there should be 0% in the Muslim community who do not read or write or read. تمام? Islam also has treated both man and woman in the same way in terms of المسؤولية القانونية والجنائية. When we come to punishments and عقوبات, again they were treated at the same level without differentiation. Again, we were raised up where they said, you are going to marry your cousin, or you are going to marry my partners, whatever, that's it. And that's not Islam, wallahi, that's not Islam, this is culture. We're going to discuss that. And Islam has given both man and woman equally the right to choose and approve the other spouse. If the woman says no, you cannot force her, whether you are her father, grandfather, whoever, you cannot force her to marry somebody that she says no. That's Islam, that's Sharia. And Islam has treated both man and woman equally in terms of their responsibility for their house. الرجل راع في بيته والمرأة راعية في بيتها. Both takes care of the house equally. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, خير الأنام, he used to يخصف النعل. He would fix his slipper or shoes. ويرقع الثوب, if he has a tear in his thawb, he did it himself. He might be a surgeon because. And he was once he's at home, he's ready to serve his family. Whatever they asked him to do, he would do. Islam has treated men and women in terms of al-ibadat, wal-ihtifalat, in al-Eid, and all these things. No differentiation. So this golden time, in fact, first time where women, because I'm going to tell you, before that, this is how the woman was looked at by other cultures. In Zardashiyya, which is the culture in Faris and Persia before Islam, they used to look at the woman as source of fitna. That's it. And they are the cause of all these problems because she is tempting man and causing all these harm and problems. Al-Ighriqiyya, the Greek, they looked at her as a mean makhluk haqir, in fact, it's part of the household furniture and all this. And if that person dies, he can assign that woman to go to a friend or somebody else. He would give it away, as if he's giving his money or something. Aflatun described the woman as a mean woman, Aflatun. And then al-Man al-Hindiyya, the woman is a follower of her husband, and if he dies, she goes to his brother or his family, his husband's family, or they prefer for her to be burned with him when he dies. I'm sure our brothers in that area know this. So this is how the woman was looked at, where in Islam, خذوا نصف دينكم عن هذه الحميراء. Prophet Muhammad said, half of our religion comes from Sayyida Aisha. It's a lady, she was faqihah. People, Sahaba used to come and ask her questions. She responded to them and gave them the answers. Women were scientists, were merchants, were agriculture, did all these jobs. They fought with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The situation was good until probably the middle time of the Dawla al-Umayyah, they said. Because after that, the Muslim civilization started expanding. And with that expansion, it was open to all these cultures. But when you are exposed to these cultures, the adat, the taqalid, all these cultures start to affect you. And this is when people started mixing or acquiring these foreign cultures on Islam, and with time was promoted as part of Islam, and it's not part of Islam. This is why, brothers and sisters, wallahi, the way I pray now is different than the way I used to pray when I was a kid, because they taught us how to pray, and then some of the things you do might not be correct, and then so go and read. We have lots of books, and go and ask Shaykh if you have a question about anything we do. Go and read; that's available, or ask the scholars. As we said, the situation in a civilized country is not even better than our situation. As I said, the money for the same job for the woman is 30 to 40% less than whatever they pay for men. And they said sometimes it reaches even 50 to 80%. Not only that, the number of hours the woman work is longer than they estimated. The woman work from 12 to 18 hours, man work from 8 to 12. دلع نفسه. Yeah. Yeah. 60% of the poor people under the poverty line in the world are women. You believe that? 80% of refugees are women. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's not counting the problems of beating up, divorce, humiliation, rape. There's a rape incident happens in this country every 6 minutes, and most of them they are from relatives. These are though 41% of al-ayd al-amila, of the working laborers in the world, in the developed countries, are women, and 24% of all the workers in the world are women, yet they are being paid less. This is really a long topic, but I wanted to conclude with a few points. We can talk, in fact, another 2-3 hours about this. And example, we can, inshallah, have session to discuss specific issues related to women. And luckily, we are videotaping that, so we invited some ladies to come. They didn't come, but they can watch it, inshallah, on the internet. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as we mentioned, in fact, one time when I was in my residency, we received a patient. We call it ruptured globe. The whole eye was busted, exploded. What happened? Her husband got drunk and angry, and he hit her with the baseball in her eye. The whole eye is gone. She's blind in that eye. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith said, "Wala tadribu ima Allah." You don't touch or beat the ladies or the worshippers of Allah. And it has been reported that ما ضرب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شيئا قط بيده ولا امرأة ولا خادم. He never hit a woman or even a servant. He used to have several servants to serve him. رواه مسلم. And he said, ولا تهجر إلا في البيت. If you are angry, just deal with it at home. Don't show it outside the house. And he says, لا يبغض مؤمن المؤمنة. Don't hate a woman. Of course, your wife. إن كره منها خلقا رضي منها آخر. If you hate something about her, probably her lisan or something talks, but she has other good stuff. So look at the other good side. جاء رجل يستكي زوجته لعمر بن الخطاب. A man came to Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab complaining. That's it. He came to his majlis and he wanted to complain to him about his wife. She's giving him a hard time and everything. And then he found Sayyidina Umar complaining about his wife. He said, so he stood up and left the majlis. So Sayyidina Umar called him back. He said, come back. What did you come for? He said, I came to complain about my wife. I found we are both in the same boat, so I just left. You're not going to help me. Okay. Amr ibn al-As, that's a nice hadith, and we're going to have two things to conclude, inshallah. Amr ibn al-As, Sahabi, he visited his son, Abdullah ibn Amr, his house. Abdullah ibn Amr was not in the house, so he saw his daughter-in-law, زوجته, his wife. So he asked her, how is Abdullah doing, and how is he going? See, also her answer teaches us, wallahi. He said, Ya Amr, Abdullah ni'mal abdu li rabbi. He's a very good worshipper to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إلا أنه لا يعرف لنا فراشا. But he ignored us. His qiyam, sujood, i'tikaf, nothing for us. You know what she means. So from his relationship with Allah, he gets an A. His relationship with his wife, 0, probably, maybe. So Amr didn't talk to his son. He went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, and he told him the story. So the Prophet brought Abdullah, and he told him, Ya Abdullah, inna li rabbika alayka haqqan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has rights on you, commitments. Wa inna li zawjika alayka haqqan. Your wife has also rights you have to meet. Wa inna li badanika alayka haqqan. You cannot stay all day, just your body also has rights on you. You have to rest it, you have to feed it well, you have to, etc. وَإِنَّ لِزَوْرِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا. Your guests, if you have guests when they come to visit you, or his father came to see him, he's not even at home. Okay? فَوَدِّدْ سَيْ Abdullah say, قَالَ سَمْعًا وَطَاعَةً يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. He didn't argue. He said, of course, Prophet, I will follow that. And he said, إِنِّي أَتْقَاكُمْ لِلَّهِ. I am the most person that fears Allah of you. I have the most, not probably, he has the most, I'm the most religious person out of all of you. The iman that he has. وَلَكِنَّنِي and he said, فَأَعْطِ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقَّهِ. يعني give the right to each section of that. Each one, you have to distribute yourself. You cannot just be biased. So the Prophet said, إِنِّي أَتْقَاكُمْ لِلَّهِ. I'm the most feared of Allah out of all of you. وَلَكِنِّي أَقُومُ وَأَرْقُدْ. I wake up at night, pray, and I also sleep and rest myself. وَأَصُومُ وَأَفْطُرْ. I fast and I also break my fast. وَأَتَزَوَّجُ النِّسَاءَ. And I also marry women. فَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. Whoever rejects my sunnah, he's not one of us. The last things I'm going to mention might make you angry at me, but that's fine. How did the Prophet ﷺ treat his wife? And we're going to pick two examples, عن السيدة عائشة والسيدة صفية. السيدة عائشة رضي الله عنها, she said, when the Prophet ﷺ when I used to drink from a cup of water and I give it back to him, he would return the cup and drink from the same spot where I drank the water, even when she was also menstruating, having her hayd. And also he would allow her to start first when they sit to eat or drink. What we call etiquette, nowadays they call it etiquette, which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had started that 1500 years ago. The other thing, يروي أنس يقول, one time we went out of Al-Madinah and I saw Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he has his wife Safiya, and they were about to ride on the camel or horse, or I don't know what was it, they didn't mention. So what did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He prepared the place for her, he put his knee like this, he kneeled on his knee and to allow her to step on his knee, as-sharifa, so she would be able to ride that camel or the animal they were riding. وَتَضَعُ سَوْيَجَ عَلَى كُلِّ حَتَّى يَرْكَبْ. What does that mean in current language? يعني open the door for your wife when you get to the car. Yeah. فوالله يعني if we read how the Prophet ﷺ used not only his wives also, how he dealt with the women. In fact, when he was على فراش الموت, the last thing he said before he died, we all know, الصلاة استوصوا خيرا بالقوارير. He told us to be careful and nice to women. قوارير, قارورة is the thin glass vase. If you just touch it, it will break. So they are very sensitive creatures. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Adam wa Hawa, man and woman, not to compete. It's not really a competition. And when I usually deal with some conflict between men and women, yeah, akhi, this is not competition. It's not really, we are not competing with each other. We are two different physiology. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala karram al-mar'a. She is the source of all this life going, the continuity of life by the pregnancy and delivery and all these things. Al-jannatu tahta aqdam al-ummahat. This religion has really gave women more than any other religion or other culture has given them throughout the history. Even now, when we think that we are at the top of civilization, and so it's not a competition. It's a cooperation. I always say, we need to help each other. If you are an engineer and I'm a worker, we help you. You design the project, I implement the project, so we are completing each other. We are not competing with each other. So man and woman in Islam are two different physiologies that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, so both of them will cooperate for sakana, for a good family, for a good community. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. جزاكم الله.